Good evening, everybody. We celebrate tonight one of my favorite actors. He's a true chameleon across genres, transitioning from romantic leads in the Before trilogy to intense, greedy roles in Training Day and First Reformed, and me being such a fan of horror films, Black Phone. We watch him grow on screen. He was exceptional in the classic Dead Poets Society and has now become one of our greatest, most trusted and respected performers, delivering this past year one of his best works, and deservedly earned another Oscar nomination, this time for Best Actor. One thing that I personally adore and respect about Ethan is his dedication to the theater. Unlike some film stars who only appear in short stints, Hawke has sustained a deep commitment to the stage with a long, respected history on Broadway and off-Broadway. I will never forget seeing him in Tom Stoppard's The Coast of Utopia at Lincoln Center, which earned him a Tony nomination for Best Feature Actor in 2007. And he has also starred in and directed or produced numerous stage productions, including Henry IV and Macbeth. We're so thrilled, I'm thrilled, to be honoring him tonight with the American Riviera Award, an honor that he previously shared with Patricia Arquette on this stage in 2015. It's also my honor and privilege to thank the Nora McNeely Hurley Foundation. Nora and Michael have been such amazing, devoted sponsors and supporters of the film festival, and we're deeply indebted. That's why our brand new film center, the incredible multiplex that you guys need to go check out if you haven't done it yet, downtown, is named the McHurley Center. And also my greatest gratitude to the board of directors of the film festival, who, without their steadfast leadership, we wouldn't be anywhere, and our president, Ernesto Paredes. Thank you to them. And of course, I'm deeply humbled by all the hundreds of donors and over 600 volunteers that help make SBIFF possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys are in incredible hands with Dave Karger, the moderator for this evening. It is my privilege to introduce one of the most trusted voices in film journalism today. He is the host of Turner Classic Movies, author of the acclaimed book, 50 Oscar Nights, which, if you guys haven't seen or gotten a copy of his book, 50 Oscar Nights, you must get a copy. And he's a longtime friend of myself, the Santa Barbara Film Festival. We couldn't do this festival without him. And please join me in welcoming, and he's super handsome too. Please join me in welcoming Dave Karger.
Good evening. Thank you, Roger. That was very nice. Thank you for the plug on the book, too. I definitely appreciate that. I was so happy when Roger asked me to not only do my typical Virtuosos hosting, which is going to be this Sunday, hopefully you all are coming, but to also come to help out with this event tonight, because Ethan Hawke is a favorite of mine. He's someone that I've gotten the chance to interview several times over the years. Oh, there he is. This is the part where I now talk about Ethan Hawke when he's sitting right in front of me. No, but I've had the pleasure of talking to him several times over the years, and he's also a great friend of ours at Turner Classic Movies, which is very meaningful to all of us. And if you know me, you know that I love Oscar trivia. I'm a bit of an Oscar nerd. And there's a very select group of people who have been nominated for Academy Awards for both acting and writing. So just to give you a couple of examples, Sylvester Stallone, Matt Damon, Billy Bob Thornton, Emma Thompson. But then there's even a more select group of people who have been nominated multiple times for acting Oscars for writing and acting. An example of that would be Warren Beatty. But then to go a step further, there's the most selective group, and that's people who have been nominated multiple times for acting and writing, but have been nominated in the lead and supporting acting categories. Up until a couple of weeks ago, by my count, there were only 3 people that had ever achieved that, and that was Kenneth Branagh, Bradley Cooper, and George Clooney. But as of a couple of weeks ago, there's a 4th person to add to that list, and that is Ethan Hawke. So tonight we're going to talk about his Best Actor nominated performance in Blue Moon, and we're going to go through his entire impressive career. But before I bring him up, let's take a look at a really great montage of his work that the Santa Barbara International Film Festival put together. Here it is. Welcome, welcome,
Hey, man,
welcome.
wow.
Ethan Hawke, everybody.
That was my life in, 3 minutes.
I was chatting backstage. I said, this is about to be your J. Kelly moment. You guys see J. Kelly? So that is the song that was playing over the montage was Thou Swell, a song that Lorenz Hart, who Ethan plays in Blue Moon, composed with Richard Rodgers 99 years ago, and that was Sammy Davis Jr. performing it. What do you like about Lorenz Hart's songwriting?
Oh, wow. All right, Lorenz Hart's, I first learned about Lorenz Hart when I was playing Chet Baker, because Chet played so many Rodgers and Hart songs,
Yes.
and I sang My Funny Valentine in the movie. And the thing I love about his writing is he walks that strange line between being really silly and profound. And it's that razor's edge where you avoid pretension, because he talks about all the most meaningful subjects, and loneliness and heartbreak and God and life and why we're born and why we have to die. And he talks about pimples in your face and feeling insecure. I mean, it just is completely ridiculous and dumb, and it's perfect.
Lures you in with the wordplay
Yeah.
until you really start listening and realize what he's talking about.
I'm gonna get comfortable.
Yeah, please do. Listen, I'm just so happy to be... As the night goes on, we're gonna get more buttons.
Yeah.
That is the hope.
It's funny, every review of Blue Moon starts like this: former heartthrob, Ethan Hawke. And I keep thinking, like, I gotta get a t-shirt or something that says former heartthrob. But, you just gotta...
The comb-over did you no favors whatsoever, but that's okay. But I'm so happy to be sitting with you in this moment. How would you talk about what this means to you, everything that's happening right now? A Telluride Film Festival, Silver Medallion, your first Best Actor Oscar nomination, tributes like this. How does it strike you, everything that's happening?
Well, to be totally honest, I was just backstage and I met the great Jeff Bridges for the first time. And to answer honestly, I really do feel like if we're paying attention, the universe is always trying to talk to us. And it's very, very hard to listen, but there's a vibration that's happening that guides us. I believe this. And when I had just finished Dead Poets Society. This is a true story. And I had my first apartment. It wasn't my own apartment. I shared it. I had a roommate with some other, anyway, it doesn't matter. But I didn't have anything to do, ever. You know, I dropped out of college and I had this apartment and I'd go to the movies all the time. And there was this Revival movie theater. I'd already seen the movie, but I really loved The Last Picture Show. Come on. Right? So, yeah, give it up. It's a masterpiece. And I'm from Texas and the movie means a lot to me. Larry McMurtry means a lot to me. The movie, it's like, I'm seeing the movie and I'm walking, this is a true story, Jeff, I'm telling you. And the Fabulous Baker Boys was playing. And I still had nothing to do, so I was like, all right, I'll go see that movie. And it was this profound moment in my life where when, I don't know if you were 19, 18, I don't know, in The Last Picture Show, but I was about 18, 19 years old. And I saw a human being that had done it. They didn't survive the profession, they'd thrived. And I think I was really worried about what was gonna happen to me and whether in this industry chews people up and spits them out. And I really loved it. And I really wanted to do it. And I wanted to do it for the right reasons. And I wanted to do it the right way. And I wanted to not be superficial, but I wanted to contribute. And I would just see every Jeff Bridges movie. And I try to tell him, and not as some kooky fan, but just as a North Star, or as just to know that it exists, that you know, I could tell you all the funny things about, like, my sister and I saw Against All Odds, and that was sexy shit. And we walked out of that, we're like, whoa, so that's what that's about. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, so what does a night like this mean to me? I feel that same vibration that I sometimes feel, that everything is gonna be all right. I know that we live in a very tough world, and I know that there's a lot of pain, and I know there's a lot of terrible things, and I know a lot of us are worried, and there's a lot to do, and there's a lot to work on, and I know that we are doing our best, and we're gonna keep doing our best, and I know we can do better. I understand all that. But there's also something else going on. You know, the world wasn't created, it's creating, and you feel it happening. And on a night like tonight, I feel blessed to be here with you, and my family's here, my daughters are here, and my wife, who's my producing partner, is here. And these people take care of me, and they love me, and they make it worth doing. And you know, I don't want to talk about that. No, there's an aspect, what I was going to say is there's an aspect of this profession that is really superficial and fans the flame of the ego in a way that can be destructive. But then there's another aspect to the profession that is really noble and enlightening and beautiful. And I want to share that with my family. And I want to share that with you all tonight.
Love that.
And so it's a huge kick to see your name and lights and everything like that, but that's the danger zone, you know?
Yeah.
But getting to talk to you and get to really talk with people who love movies is the good part.
Given the fact that we're gonna spend the next hour or so looking at clips from 40 years of your work, it's gonna fly by, trust me. Where do you stand? I've talked to so many different actors who have different opinions about watching their own stuff. Are you loving that? Are you not so comfortable? Where do you stand?
Well, all right, I'll lead with saying that I'd much rather watch Jeff Bridges reel, right? But I'll go on to say that unlike a lot of people, it's embarrassing. I love it. I love it. I'm not, it sounds like I'm such a nerd. I don't see it and think, oh, wow, I look cool in that shot. I see it and I think, I remember how, oh yeah, wow, the DP was great on that movie. Oh man, I love those contact lenses. That was so, you know, I mean, I see all the days and I see the work that went into it, and it's interesting to me to see what somebody spent time cutting that together just now. They spent
His name's Mike McGee, and he did a fantastic job.
He did a great job. And I can't help but think, oh, you saw that movie too? Nobody saw that movie. And and see the moments that it picked out, and you sometimes think, I thought that was a good moment too.
I love it. All right, well, we're gonna start off by watching, so basically the way this works, well, you've done this before, but just to remind you or tell everyone out there, I've picked 10 of his performances, and we're gonna do 2 at a time, basically. So right now we're gonna watch clips from 2 of your earliest movie. This is
the embarrassing part.
This is a trip.
All right.
Clementine, Indiana, you're gonna love this part the most.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off with clips from the movies Explorers from 1985 and Dead Poets Society from 1989. Here it is. So Explorers, the first one, you're 14. Were you a bit of a self-starter? Was this all because you wanted to do this?
Yes. I did a local play. I went to an acting class because I didn't have a winter sport, and my mother didn't get home from work till 7:30 or 8. She needed me to have something to do after school. So a kid who lived down the street from me went to an acting class, the Paul Robeson Center of the Performing Arts. And Paul Robeson, it was a significant hero, and I remember there's a bust of him in front of the building, you know, actor, artist, activist, it said. And that's what I thought an actor was. I didn't know that Paul Robeson's about the most significant actor who ever lived. It was tough to try to follow that, but that was it. And this local theater director came by to teach an improv class, just as a favor to the teacher. And after it was over in the parking lot, as I was getting in my buddy's parents' car, he said, hey, come here, kid. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you want to be we're doing Bernard Shaw's St. Joan over at McCarter Theater. You want to play a page? And I said, what's a page? And he said, you get to wear an armor and carry a sword. And I said, oh, sure, I'll do that. And but I had to ask my mom, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got to do it. And through that, I found out about some auditions in New York, and I went into New York City. My mom let me go as long as it didn't cost her anything. So I made my own headshots with a Polaroid camera, and I followed this kid in. And I went to the audition, and I got this part, and it was really, really a strange, I mean, if we had 10 hours, I'd tell you the whole experience, because it was batshit crazy.
Had you ever auditioned for anything before?
I had 2 or 3 auditions before that one. But I met River Phoenix.
Yeah, and you told me about this years ago. Yeah.
And for, you know, those young people out there, you got to go see My Own Private Idaho. It's one of the greatest movies of my generation. And
Running on Empty.
Running on Empty, you know, and he was brilliant. And he was my first real scene partner. And he had the way he thought about acting, he was a musician, and he was kind of touched and different, unique human being. And he changed, he was my example, or we taught each other. I remember I was in my hotel room. It was like a Ramada, a Marriott or something off the side of a highway up in near Industrial Light and Magic. I just watched him walking in the parking lot. And he was just walking back and forth different ways. And I walked outside and said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm trying to figure out how my character walks.
Wow.
And I thought, what do you mean? Why? What? And it opened a door that was really interesting to me.
That this could actually be something that takes work and forethought.
Yeah,
and preparation.
but I also do feel, you know, Amanda, the beautiful shot of that beautiful young woman, you know, Amanda and River are not here tonight. They're not here on the planet, you know, or I don't know, but they both are passed away. And child acting is extremely dangerous and not to be underestimated. And so when I talk about the moment when I was 19 watching those movies of Jeff Bridges, I was talking not in a silly way, but it's a tough landscape to walk, how to grow up, how to find yourself, how to not let other people define you, how to know yourself. And those things are harder than getting apart.
It's interesting because we showed Explorers and then we showed a clip from Dead Poets, which was 4 years later, but you had only done like one movie in between those two.
Had I done one? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Oh, okay. Maybe you'd done none.
None, yeah.
But what accounts for that break?
Oh, the experience of doing Explorers was extremely difficult in my family. You know, my mother was not a stage mom. They were not, my parents weren't pleased with that whole situation. And, you know, River and I found cocaine on the car on the way to work our first day. We had a ball. And don't whistle, don't whistle, don't whistle. You know, it was not PG. We looked like babies, you know, but babies can get in a lot of trouble. And the movie was a big failure, and it was kind of devastating to me because I felt like it was my fault.
Wow.
And River immediately went off to do Stand By Me, so it wasn't his fault. And, you know, and I loved Joe Dante, and this was a real blow to him. He was my mentor, and he's the director of that film, and he was brilliant. He is brilliant. And
Gremlins, I mean.
Yeah. All his films are wonderful. Big Gremlins fan out there. But anyway, I kind of took it personally, and I started thinking that maybe I wasn't an actor, that I was going to be a writer. But then the only thing I was really good at was acting. Every time I did it, good things happened. And so I wanted to go to college, and so I auditioned for a theater school, and I got in. And then I heard about these big casting calls for Dead Poets Society. I hated college. And so I went into audition, and I got that part.
Do you think the fact that you had gone, although briefly, to a boarding school in Princeton, New Jersey, I think it was, did that help with Dead Poets Society?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Familiar to you?
I knew those people. I knew that world. Yeah.
That clip is so interesting. It was such an iconic moment. But the camera spinning around you and Robin Williams, was that interesting to deal with? Because it's almost choreographed. You weren't just performing. You had to be aware of what the camera was doing.
It was really exciting. It was 1988, and the Steadicam was relatively new, even to Peter Weir and John Seal. So they were very excited about this new piece of camera equipment. And Robin Williams is not an ordinary human being. He was, you know, the word genius is overused, but he really is we all have genius, but his was readily available. Sure. And it was amazing to be in a room with him choreographing that. And I often said, that was the first time that scene that you just watched, that was the first time I felt the high of acting. I felt like, because, you know, on a night like this, it seems like the acting is about the celebration of the self, because I'm getting up here, getting all this attention and everything. But when it's really fun, it's the opposite. It's a complete dissolution of self. And you kind of disappear into creating a collective imagination with producers and costume designers and cinematographers and other castmates, and this dream happens, and you're a part of it. And I remember going to lunch afterwards, and I was like, I want to do that with my life. Wow, that was amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
It comes across in that scene. All right, let's fast forward to the 90s and look at scenes from two really great movies, Reality Bites and Gattaca. Here you go. Total time machine. It's so great. That's so 90s. What intrigued you about the character of Troy in Reality Bites?
Winona Ryder?
Well, the story is that she said she would only do the movie if you did it.
That's true. I owe so much of my career to other actors. I really do. I don't know why she saw a movie I did, a little scene movie called A Midnight Clear, and she really loved it. And she was really a big fan of Ben Stiller's early comedy show, and she really wanted, this is the height of her career. She was winning every award. Every movie she did was a huge hit, and she was absolutely brilliant. She is an absolutely brilliant performer, but she had a tremendous amount of power in those years. I mean, Al Pacino came by the set, Jack Nicholson came by the set. I mean, it was just unbelievable. She was a huge star at that moment. And she really gave Ben his career. And Ben has turned into like the Mike Nichols of our generation. He's an absolutely brilliant filmmaker, and she saw that, and she really wanted to do this part with me. And she just said she would only do the movie if I was in it, so nobody had a choice. So I got the part. And I don't know, I was in such a, I mean, that scene, people hated me for years because of that scene. I mean, I swear, like, just a whole generation of other men hated me. They all thought I was Troy. It took me years of performing to convince people, you know, that was a character. I didn't really treat Lelena that badly. But I don't know, that was huge. I mean, that was Gen X, right?
Totally.
I mean, that was who I was in a lot of ways. Nicer version.
I'm a huge fan of the actor Steve Zahn, who's a great friend of yours, right? Isn't he amazing? And you guys were doing a play around the time that you were figuring out you might do this.
Yeah, well, Winona got me the part, and then I got Steve the part. Steve and I were in a theater company together, and he's one of those souls. He's just a magic human being. For people that know him, and when this movie came out, and it was my first blush with celebrity, you know, I'd been one of the guys in Dead Poets Society and things like that, but nobody ever knew my name, or that's a very tricky moment.
Sure.
And I remember once, it was right after the premiere at Sundance. We were supposed to do all this press, and I was getting really stressed out. And Steve said to me, "Why don't we blow off today? We were supposed to do all this press, you know." And I was like, "Steve, we can't do that." I'm like, we could. I'm like, well, I guess we could. And we smoked a joint, rode up the ski lift, and I said to him, don't you just feel sometimes like all stressed out, like you feel people looking at you and you feel this? And he's like, no, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, it's all this attention. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, never mind. And he was reminding me to look at the snow and look at the trees and look at life and to remember to laugh. And he is a great friend.
He is a great guy. And you did a couple songs on the soundtrack of that movie too, including a Violent Femmes cover. That must have been cool.
Yeah, we did, Wait a Minute, Honey, Gonna Add It Up. It was, no, I had a lot of fun. I got to play music, which I love to do, and I got to act with Winona, and Ben is a great director. I was really surprised, actually. They did a 25th anniversary screening of that movie, and the movie really holds up. It's a well-made film. I was proud of it.
Yeah. Gattaca really holds up too. I mean, it was predicting a lot. And Andrew Niccol, who wrote and directed it a couple years later, then he did The Truman Show, which he wrote.
Peter Weir film.
Yeah, I mean, also Peter Weir, who did Dead Poets Society. What was the thing that interested you there?
It's the best script I'd ever read. I mean, Andrew Niccol is just a phenomenal writer. I felt like I was privy to an early Sam Beckett play or something. I mean, if you just watch that film, the concepts and the dialogue, it's so rich. And I loved that movie. I loved it so much. Every day shooting it, and then when the movie came out, we couldn't buy a good review. I remember Andrew Niccol and I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, and he got a little misty-eyed. He's going, we can't find one quote to put on the poster. Like, there was no pull quote, not one. In the frickin' 50,000 newspapers that used to exist, there's not one like excellent, superb, nothing. It was all like interesting, but geez. And it was the first time in my life that I had the feeling, the Steve Zahn feeling. I was like, I didn't care. I said, man, that movie's a masterpiece. It's like, don't even sweat it. And I feel, and then like 20 years later, I'm going to see a play, And all of a sudden, people are pushing me out of the way, and there's Secret Service guys. And all of a sudden, I'm standing in line at the urinal next to Bill Clinton. And he goes, Gattaca. It's a masterpiece. I thought, see, I told you so. Put Bill Clinton on the damn poster.
There it is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're also, if I may, I mean, just from the clip, it's reminding me, you're like full matinee idol mode in that one.
I realized the former heartthrob thing. I was like, yeah, it is a former heartthrob. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, was that like a workout regimen for that? Because you must have been.
Fuck yeah. I mean, and also, if you look at Reality Bites, you can kind of see I wasn't super interested in the gym. You know, I was super interested in Camel cigarettes and talking to girls. Like that was what I thought life was. And then they offered me this part in Gattaca where I had to be in great shape. And so that was the first time that I really had to do that. And frankly, I was glad to do it. I was 25 and it was fun.
You get results easier when you're 25.
Yeah.
Than when you're in your 50s.
Yeah.
I can speak from experience. That's great. Okay, so now let's look at the 2 movies that earned you your first 2 Oscar nominations. What were they?
Well, dude, I know, you know, on your Oscar trivia thing, do you want to know who else has been nominated for Best Supporting Actor, I think twice, and writing twice?
Yeah, who?
Ruth Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Harold and Mark. But was she nominated for lead?
No.
And she doesn't count.
Okay. But
she's amazing.
But Ruth Gordon is amazing.
Fabulous. Well,
and I remember thinking, all right, I'm in the Ruth Gordon lane.
Yeah, I love it.
I was like, that was not where I expected to find myself. But
okay, you didn't answer my question. What are the 2 movies that you first earned Oscar nominations?
Training Day and Before Sunset.
Well done. Let's watch the clips. Oh my God, so great. So, like a partial list of people who purportedly were either going to do that Training Day part or wanted to do that Training Day part: Matt Damon, Eminem, Ryan Phillippe, Tobey Maguire, Freddie Prinze Jr. Were you aware at the time that it was this part that all of these people were after?
Come on, it's Denzel. Everybody wanted that part. I mean, come on, you know. If you were an actor of that age, everybody wanted that part. And again, you know, Denzel got me that part.
Explain.
Pauletta had seen me in Hamlet and decided that she talked me up to him.
That's his wife, Pauletta.
Yeah, and I don't know, I had to come in and screen test, and when I came into screen test, he went completely off book, and he just started playing around and goofing around. And I went with him, but I remember when I left, I thought I had totally tanked it. Wow. Because it was one of the most exciting auditions I'd ever had in my life, because he's really a lot of fun to act with, and it was wild. But we never actually did the text, and I was sure that I wasn't gonna get it because of that or something. I'd had things like that happen to me before, but and I was literally about to like call up my agent and get upset about why I never got a chance to do the test, and my phone rang and Brian Lord said he got the part, and I was like, oh, never mind, that's fine. But no, that was an unbelievable experience.
I mean, when you watch a scene like the one we just showed, I just can't imagine what it's like to be in a stressful, intense headspace like that.
You have no idea. You just have no idea. Antoine Fuqua is a great director, and he wanted it to be real, and some of the guys in smaller parts in that scene like had their probation officer on set with them and stuff. And like like there's a line they just saw it where he's closing the shower curtains to shoot me, and one of the actors said, "Man, I would never do that." And I'm like, what do you mean you would never do that? He goes, I'd want to see. And And Antoine and I looked at each other, we're like, oh, he's been in this situation. Fuck. So it went in the movie, and Antoine's amazing like that, but really the punchline of the whole thing is the scene before that, we're at the card table playing cards, and they're making fun of me and stuff like that. And we're doing the scene, and one of the actors' phones rings, right? And the cameras are rolling, right? And we're doing the scene, but he goes, hold on a second. Yo, hey, what's up? Yeah, no, I'm just doing a scene. Nah, Denzel's not even here. Nah, I don't know, some white guy. Oh. And he goes, I'll call you back. Anyway, go on. It was wild. And Denzel came by the set that day, and he watched, and he was like, damn it. And I said, what is it? He goes, this is gonna be the best scene in the movie, and I'm not in it.
What was it like? I mean, look, this isn't what it's about, but what is it like when Denzel Washington is on stage accepting his Oscar for the part opposite you, where you allegedly said, if I did my job right, Denzel's gonna win the Oscar, and he calls you, Ethan Hawke, my partner in crime. Like, and you're right there in the audience because you were nominated that year for supporting actor.
It's so unspeakably generous. I'm so generous of him. I don't even know what to say about it. Any actor worth their salt would have died to be his partner in crime, and that was so beneficial to my professional life, the opportunity to work with him. And when I think back now on how, he doesn't give too long a speech. He's concise. Yes. He's a well-spoken man. And so the fact that he took whatever seconds, his long career, he deserved the Oscar for Malcolm X. He deserved the Oscar for Hurricane. Over and over again. He deserves it over and over again. And the fact that he thanked me, it really means a lot to me, to be honest with you.
You know, Before Sunset is the one that I chose of the three because it's my personal favorite. I imagine you can't say if you have a favorite of those three.
They've started to blur in my mind as one film. Why is that funny?
That makes sense.
I don't know. You can laugh all you want. No, I don't. The first one was magic because we were so young, and I was meeting Linkletter, and that was the first time. I'd had mentors like Peter Weir, these amazing directors I'd worked with, but I never worked with somebody of my generation that was brilliant. And who thought about film not as a career, but as a life's calling. And he saw cinema as a continuous, it began before us and it would go on after, and we had this tiny moment to contribute, and he didn't work for anybody. He didn't want to make a hit movie. He didn't want to be, he wanted to contribute, and his education about cinema is so joyous. And Julie had already acted with Godard, Kieslowski, Volker Schlondorf. Julie was, a fireworks display. So that one was really exciting. The second one was a really tough time in my life, and their friendship really helped pull me through. It was wonderful to escape into this familiar band that I've been playing with, and they kind of pulled me through that period of my life. And then the third one was the hardest and the one I'm most proud of, because the first two are about romantic projection, and that's a little easier in a way, to dream of what love might be like, but to try to write about what love is in a daily, we challenged ourselves, well, could you make a movie about two people who'd been together for over a decade, who'd raised two children, and tell a love story without one lie? We're just not allowed to lie, one time, nothing fake. And it's really hard.
When you think about the three of those films, I mean, we think about movies that spawn sequels. It's like
We're the Before Sunrise is the lowest grossing film of all time to ever spawn a trilogy.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's kind of awesome thing.
That's a
when we did the second one, a really good friend of mine called me up. He said, "You guys made another one of those?" I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Wasn't the first one a flop?" And I said, "Yeah." And this friend of mine said, "Wow, you guys really believe in yourselves, don't you?" And I thought, "Yeah."
I'm glad you did, because that's like my favorite trilogy. Forget any superhero, anything. I want that. All right, let's move on to two movies that are really fascinating, don't have much in common except the letter B. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead and Boyhood. Here they are. You know, I can only imagine what's going through your head. It's heartbreaking that there's this theme tonight of watching you on the screen with people who aren't here anymore, and to see Phil Hoffman there. You guys had a history, though, right? What was the history, and what are your memories of doing that with him?
Oh, he was the first actor of our, I arrived in New York, late 80s, early 90s, started a theater company. Phil wanted me to do a play that he really liked, and I said no, and he said, "Fuck you, I'm gonna start my own theater company." And he did, and it was a better theater company than my theater company. And then I joined his theater company, and he was the first actor of my generation that I felt like fully matured. He was an adult, he was an actor artist, and he took it incredibly. You were scared when Phil came to see you in a play. Because even though you're friends, he was not a bullshit artist. He loved acting, and he thought it was important. He thought we had a job to do, and that the world was not gonna help, and we had to do it. And I loved him, and I admired him, and he was so good. He would come see everything. He was ferocious, and I remember, I'll tell you a funny story. I was screen testing for Scent of a Woman, and Phil was the reader, the guy you would audition with. Because my career kind of took off before his, and then he lapped me. But I was auditioning, and we were friends, but the people running the whole thing didn't know we were friends, And so I would do this scene with Al Pacino, and then I would go to the coffee craft service thing, and I would say, "How am I doing?" He goes, "You're improvising too much. Stop it. They hate it." But I think it's funny. It is funny, but they hate it. But don't you think I got to try to do it my way? Do you want the job or don't you want the job? I don't know. I feel like I got to try to be myself. No. Get the job, then be yourself. Okay. And and I didn't get it. But he was, and the thing about this movie that's so special is this Sidney Lumet's last film. 83 years old, unbelievable script.
Wow.
Phil wins the Oscar. And what most people do when they win the Oscar is they try to figure out how much money they can get for their next job and how they can turn this into something. Phil gets on the horn and calls up Sidney Lumet and says, "Remember that script you sent me a few years ago? I'm hot right now. Why don't you try to get it made right now?"
Wow.
And Phil brought Sidney Lumet to see me. I was doing a play. They came to see a play. When afterwards they pitched me this thing, "Let's do it." I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." And it's who he was. He used whatever power he had to do the good he had to do. And he gave Sidney Lumet his last film. And the whole cinema world, I think, should be grateful to Phil for that.
So what was the...
And then acting with him.
Well, that was my question. What was the experience of doing it compared to maybe how it was in your mind gonna be?
Oh, I'd done enough readings with him. I knew what a bully he was. Sidney's so tough. He loves to rehearse. And then if you can tell the scene you just shot, it's just 2 shots. The whole scene is 2 shots. And both cameras are running at once. And we knew by the way Sidney worked that we weren't going to get very many takes. Wow. And there wasn't going to be any more coverage. We had a month to rehearse. You had a month to explain now it's time to work. So you come in we're all prepped to do it. And I remember I said one line that wasn't scripted. You're seeing a theme here. And then Phil didn't say his next line. And Sidney goes, "What the hell's going on? Whose line is it?" And I said, it's Phil's. It's Phil's. Phil says, "I'll say my line when you give me the right cue."
Oh.
You know? And I was like, Phil, it's the right cue. It's not the right cue. And we're not gonna get another fucking take, so I'm not gonna do it till you give me the right cue. And the truth is, he was specific, because it's a line where he jumps down my throat. And I'd screwed up the timing of what he wanted to do, because he was not gonna let me finish the sentence, and that's what he wanted to do. And that's the take that's in. And that might be too insider baseball, I don't know. But
I love it.
It was so much fun working with him, and I could talk for a long time about that one. You just press go, I'll keep talking.
That's great. Well, when it comes to Boyhood, I'd love to know what your initial reaction was to Linklater's idea of doing this movie. It was 12 years and shooting it a bit at a time over 12 years. Were you on board immediately, or were you perplexed?
Yeah, it's such a cool story. Linklater shows up the day my kid's brother was born, and Levon was just born, and Rick came to visit the baby, and we went out to watch the Super Bowl, and we're sitting there. It was actually Tom Brady's first Super Bowl, but anyway, that's not the point. And Rick said that, you know how every coming of age story has a lie in it, which is this idea, even like a great one like 400 Blows or something, where this idea that there's this one moment that you find yourself. He said, nobody finds themselves in one moment. It's a collection of moments that over time feel like one. And he's like, I want to do a coming of age story. I want to shoot it like when your memory first starts, which is around 6 for most of us, 5 or 6, right around first grade. It's the only time in American life that we're all kind of on the same graph, first grade through 12th grade. So we'll just follow this boy. So instead of a plot, we'll have this graph of, and we won't need a plot, because they'll sense the story coming. And I thought this is just an absolutely brilliant idea, but it proved very scary to financiers, because if you talk to studio people, the movie's not gonna come out for 13 years.
Crazy.
I mean, and they would all say, I'm gonna be fired by the time this movie comes out. Like, there's no way I'm making this movie. Then you put onto it, it's actually technically illegal. You can't sign a kid up to do anything more than 7 years. So it was all a handshake deal. And all the producers would say, but wait, what if the kid decides they don't wanna do it? And Rick would go, oh, I think it's gonna be fun. I think they're gonna wanna do it, you know? And sure enough, we all did. And it was just, it was this place. Rick and I are both from Texas. Both our fathers are actuaries. We both come from, you know, what they called when we were growing up, broken homes, you know, through divorce. And we both had a lot to say about that. And I think I was kind of the first person he pitched it to. And we went out and we figured out how to get that movie made.
And you had to basically keep it like a secret for a long time, which I'm sure was fun.
People say that we kept a secret. Nobody gave a shit. I mean, nobody gave a shit. I told everyone, no, we're making this movie. Oh, cool. Yeah.
But then they cared. It got a whole bunch of Oscar nominations.
Yeah, after it was finished, but they didn't care while you're making it. Met with absolute indifference for over a decade.
Totally.
I mean, you know, like we're putting our own money in it's all deal, you know, so.
It was well worth the wait. All right, we're gonna end with one more clip package, 2 fascinating lead performances that you've given in the past decade, First Reformed and Blue Moon. Here it is. So when you think back to that First Reformed moment where you say to this poor actress, I despise you, and she's so great, by the way. Like, do you remember what happens when Paul Schrader says cut? Are you like, hey, sorry about that?
Yeah. Well, Paul Schrader's tough. you know? So he doesn't say cut, he goes, is that the best you can do? And you go, yeah. No, I mean, it's so hard, even, you know, it's the fun of acting is we're in this game together. It's play, you know, and you have to take it incredibly seriously and not seriously at all. It's got to be fun. And she was a wonderful actor, and you know, that scene is built off, you know, Paul is doing that film has a whole relationship to Bergman's Winter Light. And so I'm building off, I know what he's going for, and my character's in a tremendous, I mean, seen out of context, it seems like I'm being a horrible asshole. And I am, but I'm also in a lot of pain. Yes. And that's how we hurt each other, right? Is we're just so concerned with our own pain that we can't even see somebody else. And that's what's, so we're smart enough, my fellow actor and I are both smart enough to know that we're playing this out. This happens to people every day. Somebody's horrible to you because they hate themselves. They don't hate you. They don't even, you know, they hate themselves. And so I have a certain pleasure in I don't see it as me, you know, I see myself as a part of this story. And that's how you can play bad guys and good guys and in between.
What do you remember as being the challenge of First Reformed? Because I mean, maybe it's what you're talking about, the self-loathing of it, the pain of it.
Well, Paul Schrader, like there's a handful, Blue Moon, First Reformed, Gattaca, those are Training Day, those are three of the best scripts I ever read. The writing. Right. The writing was ice hot. I remember my wife and I read the script to First Reformed, and we're both like, we'd shoot that on a phone. You know, it felt like a significant piece of writing. It's the apathy in the church today, climate change, how to hold two opposing truths in your hand at the same time. It's a very, very beautiful film. And so I loved it. My character, there's a Catholic writer named Thomas Merton who meant a lot to me as a young man. And my character loved Thomas Merton. And so that little tiny inn made it personal to me. And Paul was so desperate to make this movie. His hands were shaking when we would shoot. I really felt like I was working with a great artist at a very important moment in their life. So I didn't find it hard. I loved it.
I'm so glad he got an Oscar nomination for that screenplay because it was terrific.
He deserved it, yeah.
You know, when it comes to Blue Moon, we talked about it a little bit at the Telluride Film Festival, and you've spoken about this before, which was that, make sure I'm getting it right, Robert Caplow's script was presented to you like 10 years ago or something, and your response was, I like this, but I'm not ready for this yet. I need to wait and do this later.
You're telling the sanitized version of the story.
Oh, tell me the real version.
The real version of the story is, I told Rick, oh man, I gotta play that part. And Rick said, no, you know, you can't play that part. And this is on theme with the former heartthrob. And I said, what do you mean I can't play that part? And he said, Ethan, you can't play that part. I said, I'll play the fuck out of that part. And he said, Ethan, women still want to sleep with you. And women don't want to sleep with this guy. And I was like, Rick, let me do it. So he said, all right, let's do a reading. And so we did a reading at my house, and we worked on it, we talked about it, and Robert was there, and we worked on it. And Rick just started kind of what I call gardening, pouring water on this part of the script, putting sun on this part, a little trim here. He and Robert worked beautifully together, and we all just kind of dreamed about this movie. And then 2 or 3 years later, Rick said, hey, you want to do another reading of it? I said, sure, yeah, let's do that. Meanwhile, I'm reading biographies of Lawrence Hart, and you know, I'm becoming friends with Robert Caplow, and we keep talking about it. And then 2 or 3 years after that reading, we did another reading. And then 2 years ago or so, I was on the Jimmy Fallon show, and Rick called me up the next day and said, yo, man, saw you on Fallon. And I was like, yeah, how'd I do? He goes, oh, no, you were fine. You were fun. But I think you're ready for Blue Moon.
Oh, no.
So you implied all this patience on my part that I did not possess.
Oh my God.
Rick has all the patience. Yeah.
So it's like thank you and how dare you at the same time.
Yeah. It was the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Just from a mathematical standpoint, maybe you don't think about it this way, you probably don't, so forgive me. Have you ever worked on something where your dialogue was such a big percentage of the entire script? I mean, you just, like, it's crazy the amount of words that you say.
Well, that's the great, for all the young actors in the world, there's nothing like being on stage in front of a live audience. It is so much more difficult than film acting. I love film acting and I love cinema, but I will say that in cinema, it's very, very difficult to be great. Very, very difficult. But it's also very hard to totally suck. There are great cinematographers, there's editing, there's music, there's if your foot can't stop twitching, they cut it out, And on stage, if you go see, if you came to New York right now and you saw 10 plays, invariably you'd see a handful of people who are really bad. It's really hard. And so when you perform, Roger was talking about it when he did the introduction. Part of my relationship to the theater has been my training. When you do a 9-hour Tom Stoppard play, that's a lot of verbiage. And when you do Shakespeare, and when you do a Sam Shepard play, and you do all this stuff, you become your dexterity with language and verbiage. It's like running in Santa Fe or a high altitude and then going down. It's so hard that then when you go do a movie, it's relatively easy because it's like taking off 50 pounds. And so I've really enjoyed that. And that training ground led me to, because whatever the verbiage was in Blue Moon, it's nothing like Macbeth. So it was okay. Meaning I have the muscle memory and that habits that you need as a student to know how to handle that level of verbiage. Because I had more lines on Blue Moon my first day of set than I'd had in the previous 7 or 8 years of acting total. Wow. I mean, if I show you the books of, that doesn't matter. But I mean, of how I learn lines, I write them out and stuff like that. And it was huge text, unbelievable. And I was absolutely petrified.
Well, I'll tell you what, some white guy, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Ethan Hawke, everybody.
Thank you for your patience. It's so much fun for me to think about this and meditate on it. And I really appreciate being indulged this way.
Like, I could sit here and talk to you for 2 more hours, but I have someone else to bring out. And you've already mentioned him, so you all know that he's here. He's not only an Oscar winner for Best Actor for Crazy Heart, but he also is a past recipient of the American Riviera Award that Ethan is receiving tonight. And I know he's an idol of yours because you've talked about him tonight. So please help me welcome the wonderful, the local, Jeff Bridges.
Good evening. Yeah, what a good one it is. We get to honor our great artist here, Ethan Hawke, and his incredible career, which is really blooming this year, Eth. Man, Blue Moon. God, you've done 9 pictures with that guy. That must be just incredible, man. Man, 9 movies. And plus he's got that TV show that I'm hooked on, The Lowdown. You digging that? Yeah. you've just heard him he's such an articulate cat, isn't he? I mean, he talks about what he does so well. And I don't want to just get up here and give a list of more of his accomplishments. I wanted to really just give you my personal take on the guy and how much I admire him. Kind of funny, he feels like an old friend, and we just met tonight for the first time. And what makes it extra odd is that we share a manager for many, many years, David Schiff. And from time to time, I would send Ethan a little, bravo email. Hope it got to you. Some of them did, I think, from, through David. But never met the guy till now, so it feels strange. But again, I say, I feel a real friendship, and that's really not that odd, I think, with actors, because we share, what we do. We know what it takes, right? The preparation, the execution, and all of that. But Ethan and I also share some other stuff. Both of us were child actors. Both of us, and I want to talk to you more in depth about this, Ethan, but I think we both had very powerful, loving mothers, yeah? True, yeah, and I certainly did. We both loved music. Here's a tip for you guys. If any of you haven't seen Blaze, check it out. This man directed it, and it's a wonderful movie all about music. But look at that, he directs, man. He writes novels, he acts on stage, TV, in the movies, makes documentaries. The guy's a full-blown, realized artist, and it's just so wonderful to herald him tonight. And his challenges that he gives himself. I mean, this Blue Moon movie, Heart, that's a hell of a part, man. I know what you're saying about the movies are easier than stage. Yeah, man, I get that. But that's a tough part, man. And to make it look effortless, that takes some effort. That takes, it takes skill and talent, what this guy has. Something else that we share, we've worked with some wonderful people, a lot of the same guys. We both worked with Sidney Lumet, Peter Weir, and the amazing Robin Williams. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Alia Shawkat. But that's what, as Ethan mentioned, it's a communal art form. You've got all these wonderful, not only the cast, but the crew, all of these guys putting their energies and their artistry together to make something beautiful, And every once in a while, it doesn't happen every time, but often, semi-often, let's say, your highest expectations get transcended, and the muse will just have her way with you, and wow, some magic happens, And that's something that I've noticed in Ethan's work. He certainly takes direction from the muse, and will follow her instruction and look at some of the beautiful stuff that he has given us by doing that. Something else that pops into my mind, he reminds me a lot of my dad. Yeah, Lloyd Bridges. My dad taught me all the basics, about acting. If you look at the reruns of Sea Hunt, you see a little tubby 8-year-old kid. That's me, But later on, we got to act together as an adult. And one of the amazing things about my dad was his approach to the work. And I think Ethan shares this approach, and I certainly do too. My dad would come on the set, and he had such joy and excitement about what we were all getting to do together. And that joy was contagious. It would spread out through the company. And people would say, yeah, this is kind of cool, isn't it, man? We get to play together like this, And that joy caused relaxation. We say, oh, we're in a safe place. And that relaxation caused the cool work to come out. It was much easier to let that work bloom. And that's something that Ethan does, I say. I'm rambling here a little bit. But let me just say, I dig your approach, man. I dig your style, man. And speaking about joy, I get to do something very joyful for me right now. I get to, this is a heavy thing, man. It's heavy. I get to give the American Riviera Award to Mr. Ethan Hawke.
Well, I will remember this my whole life. I really will. And it's so interesting. I find it so touching thinking about your dad and thinking about joy, because that's what I saw in your work always. The bastards never get you down, and it's an inspiration. And I have to say, the movie business, the Santa Barbara Film Festival is part of an ecosystem, all of us here tonight, that are keeping movies and cinema alive. And so I have to say thank you to Roger Darling. It is to everybody who makes places like this exist, that keeps this movie theater alive and running. Thank you to you for interviewing me tonight and doing such a beautiful job and caring. This is the church of my choice. I really do believe that, every night our dreams heal us. Every night we go to sleep and our imaginations kick in. And collectively, we who make film and care about art and care about stories and care about painting and pictures and documentaries and movies, all this stuff, that we're making dreams for each other and we're talking to each other. And that's how we heal ourselves. And I believe very much that healing is possible. And if we just keep taking care of one another, keep looking after each other the way that you've looked after me tonight, forever, I'm gonna put this in my office and I'm gonna think, Jeff Bridges gave me this, man. That's fucking awesome. So, and I don't know why everybody's getting in all kinds of trouble for fun, but I can't help it. You have one of my favorite recent quotes. I hope you don't mind me. Let's get ice off our streets and into my drink.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.